All right guys, here we go. So I promised you this video and today I'm going to deliver. We are going to use this Garmin Xero C1 Pro. We're going to use our laptop here and we are going to get the most accurate sight tape I can get based on my arrow speed out of this Ultraview slider. That was really close. All right, so the basic premise of this is you can sight your bow in 20 yards, go out to 60 yards, get that distance like all of these sight tapes and these sight manufacturers tell you to do. And that's a great way to do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's what I've done for years and years and years. A couple of years ago, I started shooting in my sight tapes. I found that to be maybe a little bit more accurate. I used Archer's Advantage. I'd shoot at 20, I'd shoot at all the distances, 40, 60, 80, 100, 110, as far out as my bow would allow me to go, and I made little pencil marks. Now, I would shoot that in for a week or two until I felt absolutely super comfortable, because day to day, you know how you can fluctuate. Some days you shoot really good, some days you don't. So I found that shooting it in, I could get my 20 at my 100, I could use a dial caliper like this and actually measure the distance between 20 and 100 from my marks, take this number, plug it into Archer's Advantage, and then I could build a sight tape, print off a sight tape based on that. That's all well and good, but that still takes in an error accountability of the shooter, of me, myself. The best and most accurate way to make one would be with arrow speed, because that is going to be, there it doesn't matter if you hit the mark or not. You can get the arrow speed, that will give you the most accurate sight tape possible, and it takes out how well you're shooting that day. You don't have to shoot good. You just have to get arrow speed. So you don't even have to hit the mark or the thing you're aiming at, as long as I guess you don't shoot your chronograph. God, that is not comfortable. We're gonna do this. We're gonna go through precision cut archery. I haven't done this yet. I've seen other people do this, and I have the Garmin Xero, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Took some measurements on the bow already. The peep height from the center of the arrow shaft to the center of the peep, and from full draw from the pins to the center of my peep. I already took those measurements, so we're gonna plug it in to the precision cut archery program here, and then we have to get arrow speed. So we're gonna get a speed out of the bow, we're gonna get a speed at 20 yards, and we're gonna get a speed at 60 yards. The biggest thing for this is going to be to get as close to this as I can, the 5 to 15 inches that it tells me to get without shooting it. Ways you can do this. Now, you don't have to do straight downrange speed, so if you're someone who doesn't have a chronograph like this, you can do launch speed. So you can go to your bow shop, you can get the speed directly out of your bow. Let's say you're shooting 300 feet per second. Then you can get your two sight distances, you can shoot them in. So 20 and 60 like you would normally do, you can do it that way. You can also do this as 3 sight tape marks. So you could shoot one at 20 yards, shoot another one at 50, shoot another one at 100, and it'll build your sight tape based off of those. And you can measure the distance in between with the calipers, kind of like what I've done in the past. I've always shot 20 and 100 and measured the distance, and it's built a sight tape for me. And then the downrange speed, which is the one we are gonna do. So it's telling me, looking at this, I can do this at 0 to 60 yards with the Garmin, has produced really good results. We've had good luck using 20 to 60 with the lab radar. So I don't have a lab radar, I have the Garmin Xero. So we're gonna try that. We're gonna get a launch speed directly out of the bow, and then we're going to take this and we're going to move it 60 yards away, and that'll be 60 yards from where I'm standing. I'm going to stand as close to the corner of this building as possible, so that way when I go back there and I do my math distance, when I range find back, I can just shoot the corner of the barn here, and that is going to give me my 60-yard distance between the lab radar or the Garmin and the building where I'm going to stand. Turn this on. Probably should have started it. All right, I gotta go get that arrow. That sucks. First shot directly out of the bow. $299. We're gonna walk all the way down here. We're gonna put this at 60 yards away from where I was standing. Hopefully I don't shoot it. And yeah. So from the corner of the building, we're gonna work on the level on this. Or no, 60 yards. It's 59.5. Hi. And we have Riley. This is Riley. And this is Bree. Now, I'm pretty sure this arrow is going to be flying higher than this. We're hoping for the best. Let's see. Let's see what we got. Hi, hi. Oh my goodness. I'm still probably a little off to the right of where I want to be, but maybe this will give us a mark. So let's go shoot this one. I'm essentially going to be putting my pin right on that Garmin. Still shot one, so that didn't register. I'm gonna move this over just a little bit, and I guess we'll go up. I know I have room because those are the leaves that I'm close to hitting. So this should be enough. Attempt number 2. God, that is not comfortable. Aiming right at such a very expensive piece of equipment. All right, shot number 3. Oh, Jesus, that was close. Not quite squared up where I wanted to be. That's why I was so close here, but I barely made it over that. All right, this is something like attempt number 5. This one's gonna be tight. I have a square that I've been aiming at on the block target, and that square from where I'm looking is probably that far at 80 yards. So I know the arc of the arrow shouldn't hit this thing, but it's really hard to put your pin and send an arrow down there knowing that it's gonna get close. That was really close. Ooh, let's see if I get a yardage. Because that was like, I think my 4th one. So I've walked back and forth 4 times already to get nothing. So we'll see if this one did it. Let's go. 272. It's fast. All right, so I was able to get a speed 272 feet per second, 60 yards away from where I'm shooting, and I was 299, so that's really only a 27 feet drop, a speed drop over 60 yards. It's pretty good. That's a pretty flat arrow. All right, so we're here in the Precision Cut Archery website, and we can go to the setups right now. I've already punched in some information. I have my Elite Ethos 75 pounds, my UV slider, and the stuff that you're gonna need for this. You can title your bow whatever you want. You put in the sight that you have. I have the UV slider. The peep height, which is what we measured earlier, which is 3 5/8 inches from the center of the peep height, peep housing to the center of the arrow, and then the sight radius, which is from the pins to the center of the peep, is 30.25, so 30 1/4. You would normally sit here, you can add an arrow. We have an arrow. This is our RIP TKO, it's 454 grains, updated. Go to sight tapes. So find the arrow that we plugged in, sight tapes, calculated density. We are here, North Carolina, 300 feet above elevation. Sight and yardage, we want to start at 20, and our end, let's go to 140, 1 yard increments. Compute sight mark, so that's going to be our sight tape right there. I think that's going to be good. Print settings, default, download this PDF, and then we'll go ahead and print this out, and we'll go ahead and tape it onto our UV slider. To be 100% honest with you, I'm really happy with the printout of this, but what I'm not happy with is the pixelation in the actual sight tape and how cluttered it looks and how thick those lines are. Now, I know I could adjust this and make this a little different, but to fit on one of these little UV brackets to put your sight tape on, they have to be so narrow. And I'm not exactly super thrilled with that part of it. Now, this could be just because of my printer alone. This isn't, I don't think, a precision cut archery problem. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to measure the distance between 20 and 130, and then I'm going to find the sight tape that correlates with it on the ones that UV sends. Hopefully I can find one that is dead nuts to it. But the first thing we're gonna do is precision cut archery gives you a scale check at the bottom of your sheet. There's a couple ways you can do. You can measure this in the center, it's 1 inch by 1 inch. If you want to stick a credit card in between here or measure these lines directly, you can. Now with my very expensive fancy dial caliper, we're gonna set this exactly to 1 inch. So we are set exactly to 1 inch on the dial caliper. We're gonna go here on our sheet and we'll measure it. We are exactly 1 inch by 1 inch. So I know that this scale is correct, this sight is correct. So we're gonna loosen this back up and we're gonna measure between 20 and 130. The further you can get it apart, the better it's going to be. So 30, so we go 20 to 130. There we are. We are just shy of 2 inches. Now the sight tape I have been shooting on this since I set it in was sight tape number 8. Let's see if I did it correctly. 20 to 130, no, I'm about 2 yards off. That's why this matters. We'll go to 9, 20 to 130. This is absolutely dialed in. That's where it's gonna be. We're gonna use sight tape number 9 on the UV sight tapes. It's very important when you put these on that you do not stretch the vinyl. Now, because I was shooting this in at 85, we're gonna set it to 85 and we're gonna readjust it once we get it on. But we'll set the middle pin here because it's the one we are using for our single pin indicator right at 85. Tighten her down. Reattach this to the bow. All right, we're good to go. A little 18-in-1 set at 20. And our block target out here is 76. And of course, all this wood is in the way. That moved it nowhere. So we should be able to crank this 76. We're gonna be aiming at that black square. That one's a little high. Oh, it felt really good. So 20 yards, happy with it. The bottom one is the one that felt the best. So in the circle, it might be just like a little high in the dot. And if all of these, which walking up on it looks like they're just a little high, I might move the sight scale up. Again, just a little bit. Now that I know the scale is correct based off the arrow speed, I'm going to make my adjustments on my further shots. And it's a good group from 76 yards. So this is the group from 76. This one I knew broke high, but all three of these right here at 76, maybe I go over 1 or 2 windage clicks to the right, maybe 1, but I'm really happy with those. Again, I'm just a little high on this square. All right, so overall, really happy with the sighting process. It did not take long at all. It took 1 arrow at point blank, which was 300 feet a second, and then getting the tripod out here to 60 and shooting it and not trying to shoot the actual Garmin was a little nerve-wracking, but it took me 4 shots. 4 shots, I was able to get my first one. Then I flung a couple more after that to take an average of the 4. So between the 4 shots, I came up with 272 feet a second at 60 yards away from where I shot it at. Again, the target was at 85. So that gave me a really good sight tape, put it into Precision Cut Archery, got the scale from Precision Cut, but actually ended up using a sight tape on the Ultraview scale because it just lined up dead nuts perfect. And from me sighting the bow in, I was 1 whole sight tape off, so not a huge deal, not a big deal. Probably wouldn't notice it inside of 50 yards with as fast as this arrow is going. But once I started to reach out to those longer yardages, once I went to tack, maybe I'd be a yard or 2 off at, you know, the caribou, which at 111 could make the difference between getting it in or not getting it in to have an entry for the truck. So it's pretty easy to get this thing sighted in and get a sight tape with the Garmin Xero. This is probably the way I'm going to do all my sight tapes going forward. And if I have one from whatever manufacturer site I'm shooting that lines up with it, that's probably the one I'm gonna use instead of printing them off and putting it on. But if you have one that doesn't line up exactly the way you want it to, you always have that option. So thanks for watching this video, guys. Stay tuned for the next one because we got a lot of really good stuff coming up. We got some broadhead testing coming up. We have some trail camera testing coming up. Just a lot of stuff kind of going through the summer months, getting things ready for fall. Hunting season's like less than 90 days away. So now's the time to start dialing your stuff in. If you guys have any video suggestions that you want to see, drop them in the comments down below. Until next time, we'll see you later.